Hello and welcome to another episode of Staying Power, a show that is all about building a better life. However you think we mean it, chances are we do, and we get together once a week to talk for an hour about one slice of that better life that we're all trying to build, that we're all looking for, and we hope that it resonates with you. We is myself, JDK Winnikin, and the ever lovely, ever present, ever smart, ever sassy, ever so many things, the incomparable Ashley Kniebel.
Well,
Hi,
hello.
Ashley. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good to
How
see
are
you
doing?
again. I'm doing well.
Lovely seeing you.
Yeah, as always. And looking forward to today's conversation. Today's conversation, we're kind of following off of last week's episode where we talked about getting advice. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to go internal and talk about those times where we are in such inner turmoil or there's a lot going on that it is getting in the way, or we somehow find that it is in the way of all the things that we normally know are really good for us to do.
Ooh.
How to manage that uncomfortable space that happens to all of us a lot more often than we want it to, but it does happen, and how we can effectively start moving in a direction of getting back on track, whatever that might mean. And Ashley, I know that this is a topic that resonates with you a little bit.
Really?
I do,
Oh.
and I just have a sense.
Oh.
Am I accurate about this?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
You act like you don't know anything.
I know, but
You have a sense.
I gotta like lay it out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So all
Roll
right.
out that carpet.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a topic that, in all seriousness, does resonate with you.
Yes.
I know, because you're kind of wrestling with this a little bit right now. It seems like.
A little bit. When we came up with this topic, I was like, well, it really hits home. And oddly, I remember it hitting home like this time last year, which I should probably take a look at this and see what I can learn. I'm like, well, they say history repeats itself. I'm noticing my own history. However, it also might just be the nature of the beast of the industry I'm in and so on and so forth.
Oh, so it's work related.
Well, kind of.
Okay.
That's one aspect
That's
of
one
it,
part of
right?
it, sure.
I mean, and that's part of it is right now, yes, there's multiple facets of life that feel like they're pulling me in all directions.
Okay.
They're all very important. They all need to be taken care of. They need my attention. And it leaves a little less than a little left for me at the end of the day.
And left for you, what does that actually look like? When there's enough for you,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Well, in layman's terms, so people really grasp this idea of what I'm trying to paint is, usually people will do things for themselves, whether they recognize it or not. Maybe going to the coffee shop every morning on your way into work or whatnot is doing something for yourself.
Okay.
And now it's just habitual. You just do it. It's part of the routine, but it really is something you do for yourself. And or maybe people are like, oh, after work I go to the gym, or I meal prep, or I do happy hour with friends, or I go home and watch Netflix, or, whatever it might be. You're doing something for yourself. And I have somehow pigeonholed myself in a place where there's not much of that anymore. And I have my life so, it's not totally organized, but organized-ish enough that it's all compartmentalized. So as soon as this ends, this picks up. And then when that's done, this picks up. And it's like from one to the next and the next. And it doesn't leave a lot of room for like downtime. It doesn't leave a lot of room for what fills my cup back up. And sometimes I pause and I'm like, did I put myself in this position? Or is it just the nature of where my life is at right now? That it's just, there is so much that's going on. And this is what's required of me. To the point that when I do have a moment to do something for myself, maybe I have an hour of free time all of a sudden because something cleared out of my schedule, I almost immediately want to default to like, I should fill it with something. I need to be productive. It was meant to be a productive hour, and this is what I was going to accomplish, and this is what I need to do. So I must fill it with something of equal or greater measure. And if I don't, and I decide not to do anything like that, and I decide to put in something that might fill my cup back up, there is such a level of guilt. And then I'm like, why am I guilty? And then I'm like, well, and I keep going back and forth, and I'm like, well, why are you feeling guilty about being guilty? Like, you shouldn't be guilty, because what have you done for yourself in any span of time recently? And then, I give myself that opportunity to take advantage of it. It feels great. And then afterwards, I'm like, I'm so glad I did that.
Mm-hmm.
But for a good portion of it, I'm like, I just feel like I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing something else.
Wow. Okay. And how long have you do you estimate you've been in this space? Don't worry. I'm going to share my own too.
Where are we at? End of October now? Probably since like middle.
Okay. Okay. Do you see a time on the horizon where these demands that are on you, particularly in work, will change out? I know you're in the middle of a huge transition over there.
I have set a goal of early like next year, and I don't know if I hinged it on like the beginning of January is like, because everyone benchmarks the beginning of the year to like accomplish something or start something. Honestly, if I could, I would love to nail all this stuff home before the holidays happen, because then I could really take a break and my holiday time off won't get clouded with all these extra things. But we're like button up right next to the holidays right now because they're like very close. And I'm like, I'm great. I don't know if I can excel to the level of getting all this done before then in a humanly sane time of manner.
Okay. Gotcha.
We'll
okay.
see.
Well, interestingly enough, first of all, I can relate. I know exactly how you feel. And I know how it feels right now because I'm going through a similar thing. I do, as you know, Ashley, I do a lot of different things, right? So, and some of them are for revenue's sake. Some of them are for health's sake. And lately, those things have had such high demands on me that I found myself in a similar spot where normally the things that I know work for me well, in particular, going to the gym, I find it harder to get there, quote unquote, right? I find it harder to do it, harder to get there. Whereas even though I know that I always feel great when I go, I don't, and it's not a reluctance to go. It's like this fatigue or like something jumps in front of it where I go, I got to take care of that first. And so and it creates that inner turmoil because I ask the same question, how did I get here? And because I know these things are good for me. So why am I not prioritizing them as much? And that inner turmoil is potent. And we both just talked about the 3 key ingredients or the key signs of what inner turmoil looks like. Are you ready? Okay. This is just based on study after study. A racing mind, okay? Guilt about neglecting blank, health, work, whatever those might be, family, friends, social time. And what you described really well, pressure stacking. When something comes up, nope, I got to fill this with something else, right? And then adding more. Okay, if I'm going to get this done, I got to get this done, then I got to get this done, I got to get this done. And sometimes what it can be is we get this one pressure out of the way and we feel good about it. And then we go, okay, then I just need to move on to the next one. Right.
I mean, I have felt, and you probably actually, I know you have bore witness to this. I've had times where people will be like, hey, let's go do this fun thing that just cropped up. Or, I'll get an invitation and it is my first reaction is like this mental wall goes up and like, you can't do that. Because you have stuff to do. Now, sometimes I do really have stuff to do. It doesn't work out. But there are other times. And sometimes I think that is something that I put in place because at one point I felt like I was not good at managing my time. And it was really easy for me to procrastinate on important things. And anytime I got an invitation to go do something else, I would use it as a way to keep procrastinating on what I need to get done. And so I learned that about myself. And so now I'm like, no, you are not going to procrastinate. You are going to stay focused and get what you set yourself up for. You need to get it done. You set a goal. And if you would like to continue hitting that goal, stay on track and stay on time. And if you go to that thing, it's going to derail that. And so I think that's like a very instantaneous like thought that like pops up. And then sometimes I'm like, hey, but wait, hold on. Can I do this for myself? This would be really nice for me right now. Yeah.
I've witnessed that a few times. I've seen you do that. Of course, I think we all do that. I think you've witnessed that from me before. It's understandable because what we're really talking about here is the result of stress. First and foremost, when we are out of sync, when we're out of our routine, when we're not doing the things that we know work well for us, it's because stress levels have reached a certain point. And it's always interesting because we tend to think that our stress point is lower than what it actually is. So But it's not always true. So like right now, if you were to scale the level of stress and how all this is playing out, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like the highest level you've ever, highest level to the point where you're really off your game, what number would you give it?
Probably an 8.
8.5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I was at a 10 last summer with you.
You were, I think. That's interesting. I would probably put you at the same spot, about an 8.5 based on where I've seen you. I would put mine at probably a 7. Would you think it's higher based on you knowing me as you know me? Do you think it's higher than 7?
No.
Okay.
I think 7's good.
I think that's about right.
It's a good fit for you.
It's a good fit for me.
7.
Okay. Maybe that's because we know each other pretty well. But
yes.
Nevertheless, I mean, those are high numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And what stress does first and foremost, and this is something that Ashley and I talk about in our coaching a lot. One of the first things, and just goes to show we're not immune to this, right? Right. Exactly. Exactly. We're not. Stress hijacks executive function, right? So the things that govern our decision making and make things like going to the gym, food prepping, taking that time, make that easier is when our stress is lower. That's executive functioning. So cortisol levels when we're stressed go up, right? The amygdala part of our brain gets activated. And what we want is short-term relief. And that short-term relief, though, can look like not eating well, skipping the gym. It can also look like that pressure stacking we talked about.
Right.
I just need to jam this in. I need to get it done. And we're telling ourselves the story. As soon as I get all this done, I'll feel better. And that's the relief point. But I know well enough from my own experience, and I know well enough from watching your experience, that even if all this stuff was quote unquote done by January, there's probably going to be new things that come up.
Sure. Well, and I very much believe that if you are a productive person that gets a lot done and you have strong shoulders, more gets put on your plate.
That is 100% true.
Because people know that you can handle things.
Right.
Whether that's in a work environment, in family, relationship, whatever it is. Like, you have proven that you can handle a lot, and people are starting to count on that, what you proved in that regard. And funny that you mentioned about hijacking executive function, because I know last week we were talking about taking advice and whatnot. And sometimes we've talked on the show before about like decision fatigue.
Yeah.
That sometimes you are so exhausted and tired from so much stress and so many things that it's so hard to make even a simple decision. And so you go to somebody else to make it for you. And I think that is a very clear sign that if that's where you're at, do what you can to curb some of the responsibility that you're carrying, because eventually your body will stop you.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about that.
We have talked about that before.
Yeah.
And that is not the point you want to get to.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have a tendency to hit a wall like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And, I sometimes I'm like, am I going to run out of energy? Which I do. I certainly get tired. And I will say, and I don't know where it came from, I've gotten a little bit better about prioritizing the sleep, where I'm like, I could be doing this, but I'm like, no,
That's
you know
massive.
What? Sleep is a necessity. As much as I need like air and water, I also need sleep.
You might need it more than some of those things.
Yes.
Not air and water.
I need to breathe and I need nourishment.
Those are important.
That, or there's times where I'm like, I'm so tired, and defaulted, it's like you just want to grab whatever
Something
quick
simple.
food, nice and easy. And there's a part of me that still is like, but if you put in 10 or 15 more minutes, you will actually be able to make yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got there, but
It's
I'm going to take it.
Yeah, take it.
Small win.
Take it. Yeah, it's that awareness, and that's some self-compassion as well, right? Because I think when we're compassionate with ourselves to a certain degree, and it doesn't mean like taking ourselves off the hook for what we're doing, but recognizing that we're in a period where we're not where we would like to be, that there's probably good reason for it. And what you said about sleep is so massive, because stress, those same things, cortisol, amygdala activation, that can lead to poorer sleep, and that across all populations, doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter what, pick a demographic group, it doesn't matter. When stress reduces sleep, it worsens the behaviors we take for our health. We make poorer choices across the board when we have less sleep. We have more emotional intensity the less sleep we have. So we don't make the best choices on exercise or on food. And we might be too physically tired to feel like exercise will help us or that type of thing. So, and then of course, reduction of sleep reduces emotional regulation. So it's one of the first things when I talk with clients who are in this overwhelmed state, when I talk to, first place I go to is asking about how they're sleeping, and we tackle that. Because sometimes it's not all the big questions we ask, like the one you were talking about. Where did this come from? How did I lose track of all this? Those questions may or may not matter. And for me, I'm always interested in the solution first. Okay, well, let's take a look at a physiological thing here. Maybe improving your sleep might be a good place to start, right? And see what happens. And so often things settle down or things improve enough with better sleep that for me, it's a fundamental place to start. So, okay, so time for our first break, isn't it? Already, here we are. Okay, I know we have a lot more thoughts on this. We're talking about inner turmoil today here on Staying Power. When we come back after the break, not only will we continue the conversation, but we will do our weekly segment where Ashley and I each take 2 minutes to talk about something that happened in the last week that was either a terror or a triumph, what we learned from it, and all in the name of being vulnerable and kind of sharing about our lives. So we'll do that right when we come back on Staying Power. See you in a minute.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal.
Hello, I'm Chris Erdman. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs, creative minds, and game changers to uncover the real stories behind their business. On my show, Made of More, we explore the challenges that they've overcome, the breakthroughs that they've celebrated, and the mindset that drives them forward. If you're ready to unlock your full entrepreneurial potential, Made of More is the show for you, because here we know you are made of more. Every Wednesday at 8 a.m. on KKNW.
Alternative Talk 1150. Online at 1150kknw.com.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we are talking about the inner turmoil experience. And Ashley, first of all, thank you so much, top of the show, for just sharing what's going on with you. And certainly I know I'm not the only one who can relate to that. And for listeners out there, if you are relating to this, just kind of hold on to that, sit with that in this space for a little bit. Before we get back to the conversation, though, it is time for our weekly segment. 2 minutes. This week, it is 2 minutes of, happy to say, triumph. Here we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
I know, mugging for the camera.
It never gets old.
I know, now I mug for the camera all the time. So,
it's actually getting worse.
Yeah, and if you want to know what that looks like, follow our YouTube channel. You can watch all these episodes. So, all right.
Alrighty.
Ashley, what's your triumph this week?
I am so excited because now that we're at the end of October, getting close to it, I've gone to so many fun Halloween events. You know what?
You love Halloween.
I'm loving it.
I know, it's
because
great.
it was not, I know, everyone's
I'm
like,
laughing
why
because
is she
it's the
so
most
late?
obvious. No, it's not lame. I'm laughing because it's like the most you thing you could possibly say. I had all these fun things at Halloween.
I was not able to do Halloween-y things as a child, so I'm fully embracing it in my 30s, and this is like no better time than present. So I've gone to a lot of fun things. Some of them were super scary.
Which you obviously kind of like.
There's something odd about it, and I don't know why, because I'm like, I know I'm not going to like it later, because remember I said I don't like the dark in my own house,
yeah, right.
So I don't know why that was a good idea. And there's like other fun things that I've worn, all these great costumes, and I'm like, I'm just loving life. So that's my triumph. It's been a great October.
Okay, good. Are you still afraid of the dark?
Yes.
Okay.
In my house.
In your house. That's funny. Okay. My triumph has to do with kind of a applied lesson that I learned over 10 years ago around sports.
Oh.
October, baseball, right? My team,
Halloween.
The Seattle Mariners, who's my favorite team of any sport going back to when I was a kid, made it into the playoffs this year. And I'm excited that I enjoyed every minute of it rather than stressed about it. Stressed about it. Now, certainly stressful when your team is playing for the playoffs and you want a championship. And if you don't know anything about the Seattle Mariners, they've never won a championship, right? So the stress I can feel when my teams are playing goes back to when the Seahawks, my football team, won the Super Bowl over 10 years ago for the first time. I was so stressed out during that playoff run that I ended up not really enjoying it in retrospect. So they won it. I was more relieved than overjoyed. And I hated that feeling when I realized that that's how I was feeling. And I had stressed myself out so much that 2 days after they won the Super Bowl, I got pneumonia and couldn't go to the parade. And I swore I was never going to do that to myself again. First of all, I had some work to do on over-identifying with my sports teams. So that took a while. But I managed to do that over the last 10, 12 years. And this was the first time I really had the opportunity to follow my first true love, my baseball team, through the playoffs. And with all the ups and downs, I still managed to enjoy it rather than just be stressed out about it all the time. So,
I bet you could give some actually decent relationship advice because of the relationship you've had with your Mariners team.
I don't know on what not to do, maybe.
How to stick it out through the ups and downs.
My biggest challenge actually with this run was all the bandwagon fans who came out of nowhere when this happened. And all these were all the same people who weren't willing to root for this team when they were struggling. I realize it's a really hoity-toity thing to say, but it bugs me. I was going to games when they were 30 games out of first place. And I was still going because I love the team. That's my team. And in my opinion, if it's going to be your team when they win, it sure as hell better be your team when they're losing and they're not winning.
I really like that.
Yeah.
You're a very loyal fan.
I am. And I can tell you, I appreciated this whole experience this month so much more precisely because I stuck with this team for as long as.
You're very proud of them.
I am. Exactly. And I'm proud of myself for not getting pneumonia.
Yeah, actually, I'm more proud that you're not getting pneumonia over this situation. So,
exactly.
Very good.
Anyway, okay. All right. So with that, let's get back to inner turmoil. Playoff baseball can lead to inner turmoil.
Obviously.
There's no doubt. Okay. I saw this somewhere, heard this somewhere. It's probably a comedian who quoted it. But said, it goes like this: our brains under pressure are like toddlers. They just want snacks and naps, not long-term plans. Taking us back to before the break, with what reduction of sleep, what stress can do.
Yeah.
The first thing it hits is executive function. And what you and I have been dealing with lately have been challenges to our executive functioning around these various things. Now, excuse me, sometimes it just takes some things can just take a slight schedule shift, right? You and I, for example, have had some schedule shifts recently that have allowed, for example, for you to get to a jiu-jitsu class, potentially, that you couldn't get to before.
Yes. Yep.
Right? That certainly probably feels good to be able to do.
That was awesome. Again, guilt-ridden because I'm like, I could be staying at the office and I have so many other things I could be doing. And I'm like, and one of them is going to jiu-jitsu. So let's get some exercise, sweat a little bit, raise them endorphins, and you're going to feel really good because you know you did something good.
Yeah.
So I was able to go and it felt great.
Now, has that helped kind of click back into place, kind of that where you once felt before all this stress took over? Do you feel like that is helping you get back into a habit that's positive?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny, even though it's only been a class here and there instead of consistently every week like I did at one point. There is something about it that I can look back and be like, oh, I'm really glad I did that for myself. Like I made it this week. I made it once. I made it twice. Whatnot. Like I prepped my food. And so I wasn't eating out every meal. There's 3 meals this week. 3 out of how many meals do you eat in a week? But I'm like, but they were really good.
And there were 3 really fewer than before, 3 more than before.
Well, and sometimes too, a little tidbit for the listeners and viewers is I stopped measuring things necessarily by week and whatnot. Sometimes that can be a good benchmark to kind of gauge where you're at.
Sure.
But I'm like, what if I looked at it over the span of the month?
There you go.
Or something of that nature. And example, the meals. If you're trying to eat better, how many meals you're going to eat in a week's time? How many of them were great? Maybe one day was just terrible because of what your schedule was like. Then maybe then you had like 2 days later in that period of time and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And you nailed it.
Right.
Okay, your percentage, you're winning.
Right.
So give yourself some credit for it.
Right.
So I'm like, sometimes I took a little reframe of where things were at. And I'm like, all right, I think you can give yourself some credit for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you can give yourself a little more of a break.
Absolutely. And I think that goes a long way because it reminds us of why we started doing those things in the first place. Mm-hmm. I had something similar recently. I had been tracking my macros in my diet for quite some time, and I was really faithful to it for a really long time. And a few months ago, I just started getting wobbly as all these other things started picking up and I had to make some different choices with how I was spending my time. I just didn't adjust really well in that part of my life. And this past week or so, I started, with the help of my coach, my health coach, he said, just start tracking them again. Don't worry about getting it accurate. Just get them in there. Get back in the habit. Just focus on that. And when you get one day down, enjoy that day and see what it kicks off. And of course, what it kicked off was excitement. Oh yeah, I remember liking this, right? Having balanced out my food for the day. And I remembered the experience of if I prep in advance and I'm thinking about the next day before the next day starts, what do I want to make? I can start adding all that in and making measurements. And I feel suddenly that I'm taking a proactive approach to what I'm going to eat rather than just making it up on the fly. That really helped me when I realized, okay, yeah, I remember how to do this. And I feel like it's getting me a step in the right direction. Still not where it once was, but I've had to intentionally choose to focus on, okay, yes, I know it's not where I once was, but instead of focusing on that 80% gap, how about I focus that I close the 100% gap 20%, right?
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I think it is. Because what that does, both these examples do, is they reduce our stress. They help us feel like we're doing something positive for ourselves, and that starts reducing the cortisol response. That starts leading back to healthy sleep, better emotional regulation, better decision-making. Because when you have multiple demands, like you and I have, right, what that ends up doing is it crowds out. This actually happens in the brain. Once again, Ashley, we're back to me. What this does, when we have multiple demands that lead to stress, it actually crowds out our working memory. The working memory that reminds us to go to the gym, that reminds us to prep, that gives us the ability to have foresight to plan and prep. That actually does that because the stress is telling us on a survival level in our brain, you must do this, because somehow we've assigned ourselves the story that this stress is vital to our survival and everything else has to adjust or has to be eliminated for the time being. Ironically, of course, that's a flip because quality food, quality sleep, quality movement and exercise, those are actually the things we need to survive. Right. So it raises questions about how you and I are both assigning these stresses, right? And again, a very, very human thing that we're experiencing.
Sure. Well, and my stresses are, I feel a huge level of stress and responsibility because it is not just my survival that rests on my ability to get these things done.
Right.
It is the survival of a much grander scope of people and business and whatnot. And a lot of it really comes down to me. And there's so much pressure with that level of responsibility. But then I'm like, there are other people that have way more stress and pressure than you do. And somehow they have figured it out. So there must be a way, and you're going to figure it out. I may not be, going at the levels they are, but I'm like, sometimes I have to take a step back, and I have learned to get better about compartmentalizing this stuff somehow. There is only so much you can do in a certain span of time, and when you leave it, you leave it. And it's done. And there was times we were talking about lack of sleep and whatnot. And usually I'm a super sound sleeper. I lay down, I'm out for the night till I wake up in the morning. And I've had nights lately where my mind, like I lay down, my mind is thinking all these different things about work and what I should be doing.
Turmoil.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like the speeding thoughts. And then I caught myself and I'm like, I have been laying here for like 45 minutes of this stuff. And I'm like, that to myself. Sleep is important and it makes me look great. So obviously beauty rest is needed. And I'm like, why am I doing this?
Did that help?
Those thoughts? Or the
no, once you realize.
Yeah. It did.
That helped you fall asleep?
Well, it stopped my racing thoughts and because I didn't even realize I was still doing them. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not at work right now. I'm at home in bed. I should be sleeping. Like, where am I? What do you normally do when you're in this space right now? What's the natural look for you right now? Let's go with that because that's what works for you.
Right.
And you can't do anything about work right now anyway. So why are you thinking about it?
Right. And without meaning to sound flippant about it, you were in bed, but you weren't. Your mind was at work.
Oh, yeah.
Your mind was out the next day. Your mind wasn't there.
Yep.
And that's an easy thing it's an easy thing to do. It also can become an easier thing to catch, right? I've noticed that too. For me, what ends up happening when I notice I'm in that spot, I say something similar and go, okay, well, my thoughts racing about this aren't going to help anything. What is going to help is recognizing this, letting my breath even out, lengthen out till the point where I can take a deep breath, and that usually helps, right?
Nice.
Just even recognizing that is such an important part because we have to get past the gap. It's called a self-discrepancy gap. What should I be doing and what am I actually doing? Or we could say, what should I be doing instead? In your case, I'm in bed, right? I need to do what I need to do to relax and go to sleep.
Right.
And now a little bit of awake time going to bed can actually be a good sign. The healthiest spot to fall asleep in is 12 to 20 minutes after you climb into bed. If you're conking out the second you hit the pillow, there's a chance you aren't getting enough sleep, right? But nevertheless, I think those things are really important to be able to recognize that I should be doing this. It's in time to sleep, but also to flip this around. Instead of saying I should be going to the gym every day like I used to, or I should be tracking my macros every day that I used to, and going, I'm not doing that, and therefore I'm full of shame about it. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm not doing that. So what is out of whack? What's the stress about? The question that you asked about, other people have figured this out, right? Has that raised questions for you of like, with all the things you have as your responsibility, has it raised questions about giving some of those things up, for example?
Yes. Yeah.
Or
sometimes I'm like, did I take responsibility about something I'm not supposed to?
That wouldn't have been better for me to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Or can I delegate that to somebody else? Or did I, in my little inner ego, think that I could handle it better, so I took it on myself? There's a few things I really try and sit and like comb through some of this to be like, okay, really? Because, life is supposed to be fun and enjoyable, and sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
It's not always supposed to be enjoyable and fun. There's going to be a mix of things. And I'm like, when that becomes really imbalanced, it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. It's not going to work in the longevity of things. And I care about myself enough to know, like, I can only do this for so long. And I've had a conversation with myself about actually of like, all right, you're running at a ridiculous speed right now, and you are carrying the weight of many, many things, some of which people know and some of which people have no idea. And you can only do this for so long. So you need to figure out where is your actual end point.
Have you found it yet?
I think I've pinpointed where it's at. I don't want to get to it, right? Like that's the point. Like where's the edge of the cliff, and don't get close to it.
Right.
But is knowing like, okay, you feel like you need to take this on and run at this pace right now, fine. Allow yourself that. But also then know when you're tired and you need to go down.
Right. And what else may have to be given up.
Yes.
So you can do that.
Be prepared to then give something up. And be happy with the results that you've gotten at the pace you're running until you need something up.
Oh my gosh. You just articulated really well what I think is a key differentiating point that we have to get to. And studies show this too. We have a tendency to prioritize urgent tasks over ones that are actually more important. We equate the two is a way of saying that. If it's urgent, it's important, right? Some people, I've called it the tyranny of the right now, right? Is if something is urgent, therefore it is most important. And therefore we have a tendency when something's urgent to take it on ourselves because it is urgent, when that might not be the most important thing that we need to be doing, the most important task we have. I'm sure you run into that all the time in your position, having to figure out what's most important here. Now, sometimes what is urgent is most important.
Right.
So let's not, I don't want to muddy the waters there, but they aren't necessarily the same thing, right? is that part of what you're kind of sifting through a little
Yes.
bit? Okay.
That is a question I pose to myself every day.
Okay.
Often.
Okay. And do you tend to take on the urgent ones yourself, or are you trying to find a way to hand off the urgent ones?
If it's one that I know that I can do, then I will usually handle the urgent one because I'm probably the one that can handle it the fastest.
Because of the nature of your job.
of the nature of the job.
Got
yes.
it. Got it. Okay. So does that help when you realize that, when you consciously are realizing that? Okay, I'll do the urgent things.
Well, and there's been some important things that I have tasked on to somebody else, and it's a little weird.
Has it worked out?
Sometimes.
Sometimes not.
It hasn't.
Sometimes it
But
hasn't.
at that point, then I'm like, that's not my responsibility. Go ask them. But then I'm like, oh, but this is really impactful. So now I need to,
So yeah, and then does it create an urgent?
It's a bit lofty, but then I'm like, no, really, I do care. And then it becomes from important urgent. And then I'm like, oh, funny, it came back to my plate.
Yeah.
So, I try to help that person be set up for success so they can do it important and make it urgent for them. Important for me, urgent for them.
Right. Got it. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. And that to me is, I think, it's one reason you and I have talked extensively about this now. So off the air, right? And I've, listeners should know, I do tell Ashley what I see when it comes to her stress and what I see in there, and actually more about what I'm more concerned about, right, with that. And that comes from a friendship space, right? Yet what I do know is I have seen you do that, like start to differentiate that a little bit more. And it's really tough. I know how it feels to be in a spot like that where you feel like you have all this responsibility and there's an urgency that goes with it. And the way your job is designed, you're the starting point for all of it. And it's really tough sometimes to not, because it's the starting point, to not feel like you have to be the one that takes it to the end point. Mm-hmm. That's a real challenge. Yeah. But I also know you well enough to know that you're not going to tolerate sacrificing yourself for very long. So
no.
I don't really worry about Ashley in the long run. So, all right. Okay, so let's go ahead and take our second break here on Staying Power. When we come back, we'll talk about, as we always like to talk about, some things we can do if we are in that spot, some things we can do to kind of bring ourselves back to center and get ourselves back to where we want to be, or with a little bit less stress and a little bit less turmoil. We'll be right back.
There's danger out there. It lurks on highways and quiet neighborhood streets. It's more likely to kill you than a shark and more terrifying than the biggest snake. Distracted driving claims lives every day. Every notification, swipe, social post, video, or selfie while driving risks your life. So while you might think public speaking or the zombie apocalypse is scary, what's really terrifying and even deadly is distracted driving. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Are you ready to discover remarkable stories of resilience and cultural connection? This is Diaspora, a show sharing the journeys of first-generation immigrants from the Indian subcontinent now building their lives in North America. Inspiring, insightful, and always engaging, Diaspora offers a unique perspective on the immigrant experience. Join me, Aditya Mehta, my guests, on the Diaspora Show every Wednesday at 2 p.m. right here on KKNW.
Alternative Talk 1150, here to uplift your day.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
Talking about inner turmoil, the effect that it has, and what we can do about it. And Ashley and I have both been sharing about our own inner turmoil, because this is actually happening in real time to both of us. And I don't know about you, Ashley, just even talking about this is kind of helping me in this moment, kind of reframing some things, like, oh yeah, okay, I need to remember that. Yeah. So anyway, so I appreciate what you're offering.
Good.
For a lot of reasons. Okay. So Ashley, in the time we have left, let's talk about, the big popular word is reset, right? Which I know we both sort of, you've heard a bunch of times. And if you're watching the stream, you just saw one of Ashley's patented eye rolls that stretch out to the very back of her head. And I honestly think could move the earth if they went too far. But nevertheless, people know what that means, right? So I like to say getting back to center, right? How can we get our equilibrium back, right? How can we balance back? So that takes practices. We've talked about before on this episode and on previous episodes that you can't wait for motivation. You have to act. And yet it can be really easy, because usually when we say, I need to do this, we overshoot on what we think we need to do. Like I need to get back into the gym 5 days a week the way I was doing it before.
Good luck.
Right. Good luck. Right. It's really hard to do that. So let's talk about practices that actually are proven to work, to bring ourselves back to center, to reset, whatever you want to call it. What comes to mind for you first?
I would say building little micro habits, and even saying that can sound like a lot. So I would say just take one win at a time.
Okay.
And the win can look like anything that you can do to make yourself feel good or fill your little love cup for yourself back up, whatnot. Whether it is getting that cup of coffee in the morning, making that time to stop in the morning, getting that, and enjoying that first sip feeling or whatever it's called, like enjoying that for a split second before you get on the road and get off with your day. Or if you end up making a good meal for yourself, you're like, it's one meal. I've eaten crap all day, all week, why not? But you had one really good one. That's great. And really give yourself an applause for that.
Right.
You happen to hit your 100 ounces of water today or whatever. Like you got outside for a walk instead of scrolling on your phone during work. You took the stairs instead of the elevator. Like any little thing. Like start acknowledging and giving yourself a good job for the little things. And it feels silly. I understand this. It felt silly for me to do that too, because I'm like, I used to do so many great things. So scoffing at myself for this, this little thing I did.
It just increases your stress.
Yes. And then when I started actually acknowledging the little things that I did and trying to find the wins and the things I was doing,
100%.
It made a difference. It really did.
100%. It does matter. And if you're used to getting out, if the thing you're saying, I used to walk for an hour a day, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, getting outside for the day, right? I used to read a half hour before I went to bed at night, reading for 10 minutes, right? Reading at some other point of the day. Those types of engagements, it's important to remember our bodies remember what it feels like to feel good when we do these things. And just because you can only do a 10-minute walk doesn't mean you are doomed to be doing 10-minute walks for a really long time before you get back to an hour. It might actually happen a little sooner. I kind of equate it to like, grinding gears, try to find that gear. You just need that tooth to catch, right? And sometimes it just takes a little bit, right? So that good thing. All right. That's a great one. One that I think is important to remind people. A couple of weeks ago, you laughed at me when I talked about the whoop method of things. She's rolling her eyes again, everybody.
A smaller eye roll this time.
Which was in our conversation about, that bridge between a decision and taking action, right? The important thing to do. And that stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. What's the wish? I want to get back to walking an hour a day, right? That's the outcome would be I'd be getting more movement. I lost weight when I was doing that. My sleep was better. I want to get back to that. That's the outcome. What's the obstacle, right? Ashley, you do a great job of outlining what the obstacles are and then saying, okay, I can hand this off. What's the plan? That's the P. What's the plan to bring that back? I know for me with walking, one time what I had to do was I have to be willing to go outside for 10, 15 minutes, even if it's dark. If that's the only opportunity I have is to go for a walk, I just put on some light clothes, grab a flashlight, and go walk for 15 minutes, right? What's the plan to that? So actually planning that out rather than going, oh, I forgot to do this again. Or, oh, I just didn't have the energy to do this again. Laying out a plan and knowing what the obstacle is, articulating it, writing it down, speaking it out to somebody can really help.
I think that's great. I remember we went through that exercise. It was good.
I know you roll your eyes at me, but it works. Right? So many things.
I only
everybody.
say that because of how you say
I know.
it. You add a little flair to it.
I know,
anyways,
that's right.
Another thing that you can do is not shaming yourself for things. And when I was at my level 10 of stress a year ago, I did this often.
Yes,
I was very difficult on myself because I remember where I once was and I'm like, I'm not here now. And all the shoulds came rolling in, right?
Yeah.
I should be handling this better. I know better.
Bullshoulds.
Why am I not handling this better? And a lot of shame went into it. And the more you tear yourself down about it, like there's nothing left. And that's when a little self-care and a little positive reinforcement to yourself really will go a long ways.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Nobody ever accomplished a great thing by shaming themselves.
This is very true. This is very true. And even if they manage to, at what cost? Right? At what cost? With that, I think is social connection. I think it's important to spend time even if it's on the phone with people that we care about who know what we're going through, even if we're not necessarily talking to them about these things. I mean, I think it's important to be discerning, right? But who are the people that bring you joy or perspective or, ease, social connection like that? And even if it's something to say, hey, I can't join you for happy hour, but I'd really like to plan something out. Can we do that? Because then you have the excitement of looking forward to it, the anticipation part, which can actually is proven to reduce stress. Planning a trip and looking forward to it can be just as relaxing, sometimes more so than the trip itself, right? I mean, depending on where you're going and what happens and who you're with, right? Who you're visiting. But that type of thing, because it creates a buffer, right? It takes us out of our head. It reminds us that there's other people out there who care about us, other people who are going through stuff that, we want to hear about. It provides perspective, and that reduces stress because we are wired for that social connection. And so it makes it tough. It's led to some conversations you and I have had before where you and I have both been like, hey, I've been reaching out to you.
Hello.
This is good for you and it's good for me. You say it just like that too. Hello.
Yeah, and you normally send up a rocket emoji if I'm too quiet.
That's right. Yeah, that's something. I don't know if we've ever shared that. Like there's times where Ashley, I can just tell when Ashley's in the middle of something.
What do you say now?
I say it's a disturbance in the force. I can tell when something's off with Ashley, and yet I also know she can handle it. So it's not like a panic thing, but I'll send her a note saying, hey, just set up a rocket ship or something. And she'll send a rocket ship emoji, right? Or every once in a while I've done that and you've sent me like the middle finger emoji, stuff like that with a big smile after it. But nevertheless, those types of things. Because it's more about, hey, and tell me if this is true or not. I know for me, when you do the same thing for me, I know when I get that message from you or from somebody else, I'm like, wow, okay, in the middle of everything they're thinking about, they're like, hey, I'm tapping on the glass here. Yep. You all right over there?
Yeah.
It goes a long way.
It really does. It does. When I get those from you, I'm like, he is so in tune and knows me well enough that it pinged him naturally of like, something's not right over there. I'm just going to check in and let her know like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I notice I see that you are going through something and just want you to know that somebody's aware of you right now.
Yep.
And that alone, for whatever reason, especially when it's out of the blue and it's coming from somebody who's not next to you seeing what you're going through, but they can just tell, it's like means a lot. And like you said, take a moment out of their busy day. They're dealing with a lot of things. You have a very busy life and schedule and a lot of things you juggle. And the fact that you're like, hello, yoo-hoo.
Send me a rocket ship.
That's right. Where's the rocket?
Yeah.
Another thing that you can do is, we kind of talked about sleep earlier, but actually, and they always say prioritize sleep. Okay. That does not necessarily mean like to judge and shame yourself into bed. Okay. That means preparing for sleep. Sleep is a big deal. It's an important thing. It's not just one of those you like strip down to whatever you were when you sleep and just fall into bed and then the world goes blank and then you wake up and you rinse and repeat. It's something you prepare for, right? Hopefully you brush your teeth, wash your face, do whatever your thing is before you get ready for bed. And that should, I say this because I know it works, is include like a winding down. Yeah. You can't go from like going at 100 miles an hour to then just nestling right in a bed and just end it. That's not going to be good rest. There's things that we wear on our fingers and our wrists and stuff that measure our sleep, right? I have a Whoop strap. You have an Oura ring. Like we know these things. So give yourself the time to prepare for a rest, a really restful rest. So turn off the TV.
Yeah, the screens.
And I say that is because some people, they say they fall asleep watching TV, and maybe that's how you wind down. But there should be a period of time between then and bed where you're not staring at screens. Yep. Dim you the lights. Maybe drink a little warm tea or something like that. Do something that calms you down before you go to bed. Yeah. Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I love reading and I stare at screens all day long. So the last thing I want to do is stare at more screens when I go home, right? I don't want to watch TV. I don't want to be on my phone or anything like that because I stare at screens all day. And no matter how busy I am, unless it's like very, very late, and I'm like, sleep is now a priority to me. Otherwise, I will take an actual hard copy book and read for like 10 minutes. 10 minutes, okay?
Huge.
You probably spend how many hours a day scrolling on your phone? Your phone can actually measure how much time you spend on social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So I would challenge that you look at that and see and be like, wow.
You get a report every week.
Yes.
Even if you don't want
if
to pay
I am
attention
spending this much time, I could be spending it doing other things. And it clocks that I spend an hour on my phone, probably laying in bed with the phone falling on my face because I'm holding it above it and I'm getting tired and dropping my phone. Do something else that doesn't include a screen.
Yep. It's being shown more and more to be so important to put that down about an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed.
Well, and like, what is the content you're absorbing? Things that are getting you riled up.
Exactly.
Things
you could look at the next day
charged.
if you absolutely had to when it was daylight. And the light that's in those screens, it's not just the fact that triggers the parts of the brain that keep us awake. We also, if you work on screens all day like you do and like I do, it triggers that association of I need to be alert and I need to be doing something with this. So it's not helpful. Whereas creating a routine that includes putting screens away is actually a way to help your body learn and respond to that, going, oh, okay, now this means we're starting to wind down. And over time, the body takes over and it takes that cue of, okay, they just deliberately put the phone down, they're reading, this is time to get sleepy. Mm-hmm. It does do that. Right?
Yes.
That's the big reminder I always have. Our bodies are out to try and help us out. And if we can help them out, they'll help us out. So there's all good. All right. So the last couple minutes, some practical takeaways here. First of all, you have a turmoil loop. You know you do. It's somewhere. We all have one. Ashley's is around the intensity of her work right now. Mine is around juggling a schedule that I'm still readjusting to. What's yours? What's causing your mind to race? What's bringing up guilt? What's making urgent more important than maybe the things that actually are important? What's leading to skipping your routines? If you kind of name these things, right, it goes a long way to pointing those things out, right? So name that one, first of all. And as Ashley pointed out so well, shrink, make it smaller. Go into bite-sized pieces. You're so good at this, Ashley. You've always been good at that. The recovery of just taking okay, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. I'm going to count one meal as a success. Other things. Ashley, what else do you have?
One way of not doing the phone thing is shutting off your Apple Watch and leaving your phone somewhere else in the house.
Oh, when you go to bed?
During the day.
During the day?
On the weekends.
Okay.
There are times when he's sending up rocket ships and I'm like, I didn't even know it was happening because my phone is left somewhere else. So I'm not, pestered. It's just another way of shutting off.
Yeah.
Leave it be.
Yeah. And the technology question, we had an episode not too long ago that was all about technology. So if you want to do a deep dive on that, you can go back and find that. And of course, that is on any podcast platform because that's where you can find Staying Power. You can also find it on our YouTube channel and get connected to us through Instagram, through Facebook, and through the radio home for Staying Power, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. You can also reach out to us directly at stayingpowershow@gmail.com with any questions, any comments, any feedback, any ideas for future subjects. We would love to hear from you. We will be back next week to talk about another one about life because there's so many. And we're looking forward to seeing you. I'm just JD.
I'm always Ashley.